Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you are catching this YouTube video. Thank you for watching. You are with Marie from Messiem Creations. I hope today finds you safe and well. I am going to show you the new spiral die, which is suitable for the Stamparatus. So I will just just want to make sure that I keep within camera by just having a screen to watch. As with the Stamparatus, this will potentially go slightly out of screen if I don't keep my eye on myself. So I have mounted up my spiral die with the cling background and popped that onto my Stamparatus. You can do this with the big F block that takes these big stamps. However, I will show you why a Stamparatus is the go-to tool for this. I've picked 3 complementary colours. So I have petal pink, pale papaya, going through to flirty flamingo and calypso coral. So they're the colours that I am using. So I have got my piece of backing paper held down with my magnet. I find it easier with these magnets because they are so strong to pop them in a bit of washi tape, because then it gives you something to pick them up by. Otherwise it's quite hard. So I am going to pop this piece of paper square on. Now I've picked a piece that is bigger than I require, on the basis that this will need to be cut down. What I'm going to do is use the stamp case as a support for when I'm inking this up. So I'm taking my palest colour, in this instance the petal pink, inking up the whole stamp. Then we take the stamp across, even pressure over the Stamparatus, lift. Missed a few bits there, so provided I put ink on, I can put a little bit more pressure onto that area and that ink has transferred. Then I'm using pale papaya, so this is one of our new in colours. So inking up the spiral die, what I'm actually going to do with this base piece of card is just rotate it slightly. I'm going to move that magnet slightly in the way and move that up to that top corner. So I've rotated it slightly. I'm then taking the Stamparatus back across, even pressure again, lift it. Missed that edge again, didn't learn the first time, and that's the joy of the Stamparatus, is when you lift that up you can go back in exactly the same place, but you can see how we're starting to create a multicoloured spiral. So I'm going to rotate it slightly again. Now the level of rotation is entirely up to you. What I'll try and do, because I'm working light to dark, I'm not actually taking any ink off apart from when I do the flirty flamingo, because it is slightly darker. So before I go flirty flamingo to calypso coral, I will wipe that off, but with the paler colours I haven't. So by rotating it again slightly, this time I'm going to remember I keep missing this edge. So even across, we can lift that got it all right this time. Might just want to go in and pick up a few bits there, but that's all good. So I'm going to take my damp chamois, just wipe any excess ink off. So that's why I go light to dark, not dark to light. If you started with the darkest, you'd have to ink and dry it off every single time. And then I'm going to rotate it slightly again. So I'm obviously not going to use this whole piece of card, but depending on how it comes out will depend on which bit of it I use. So inking up with my Calypso Coral. So you could do this in complementary colours. You could do it in clashing colours. I mean, you know, the choice is entirely yours. We could have it really dark. We could have it all blues if we were making a card for a man. All kind of yellows. You could do a blue and a green and a yellow. The choice is yours. Oh, that was a little bit... got a few splodges there where I over inked. But you can see then that actually we've got a slight variation in where I've stamped, so that we get kind of a spiral on a spiral. Here's one I did earlier using the same colours. And you could potentially stamp it off as well if you didn't want it as dark, or use any myriad of colours. Now what I think this would be quite nice on is some little note cards. So the small note cards, I reckon we're going to be able to get... Sorry, I'm coming across the envelopes and not the cards. Hoping we'll be able to get a couple of cards out at least, but we might only get one. But we'll start with one and we'll see. So again, these come pre-folded with the small, pre-scored, so that all you have to do is go along that score line, and potentially we could choose whichever piece of that, and actually it might be quite nice to use that piece across and then use a punch to potentially do a label across the top. So let us measure, because I would use a backing card. I might pick Flirty Flamingo. So this card base is 12.8 by 9. So let's cut. I mean, you know, these edges, I'm thinking I should be able to salvage a bit for... She said 12.8 by 9 and then cut it so that she can't get... So I'm going to do... let's see what we can get in. So I've got 8 by 10.8 currently. So I might just take, so 10.8 was 2 centimeters off. So let us make this 7. And then you can choose which way up you want it. Just need a bit of Flirty Flamingo at the back there. So this I want to be 8 by... I've forgotten what size I did that then. Gotta love that, haven't you? That's 10.8, that's good. So let's do 11.3. The card was 9, so we'll go there. So essentially it's just taking those layers down, which clearly my measuring is not very good, is it? So essentially I want an even border around the outside onto that piece of card. That's what you get for being unscripted, but that's fine, isn't it? We're all human, so all we need to do, quite like that spiral going that way round. So a bit of tape. So Stampin' Seal Plus happens to be what I've grabbed. We have Stampin' Seal, or Stampin' Seal Plus is just slightly stronger. Oh, at this point it doesn't matter which way around I do that. But any of the colours that you use on your spiral, you can then choose to do the matte layers. You could do multiple layers, or you can just do the one like I have. Now, what I would suggest with one of these, I'm probably going to use this piece, is I'm going to cut a centimetre wide strip with a pair of scissors. I'm just going to trim that end off, and then perfect, that pops in there. So again, a little bit of tape, making sure that tape is all tucked behind, and just add it. So it's just adding a little bit of detail to the inside of the card. So preferably we don't have naked insides and we don't have naked envelopes. So pop that on the inside. Should be more mindful where I put the back of my card. Whoops a daisy. And then potentially we could use another piece for the envelope if we wanted to decorate the envelope as well. So there we go. So that is from the spiral die. It's in the new annual catalogue, and I've used a kind of stepped, but instead of moving the stamp and the Stamparatus, I've moved the paper within the Stamparatus. So hopefully that inspires you to do a bit of crafting. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon.